Hello there, Phil Simborg for the USBGF. And here's a play that came up yesterday in a tournament match at the Bar Point Club. And very simple, typical position early in the game. And Red has a 6-5 to play. How would you play it? I see several possible plays. All of them look reasonable. What's your play? Okay. Raise your hand if you just ran a checker. Raise your hand if you brought two down and made the 8-point in a builder. Raise your hand if you moved a checker out to here and a checker down to here. 24-18, 13-8. Raise your hand if you made the ace point. Okay. I can see, by the way, I can see you out there. Most of you did not make the right play. Some of you didn't even think about it. I can tell what you're thinking too. The right play is to make the ace point. And it's right by a tremendous amount. This is a great illustration of two very, very important concepts. The first concept is always consider your game plan before you make the play. And remember that game plan trumps tactics. Let me hit the arrow here and show you the best play. A huge blunder to make anything but making the ace point. Your game plan is hitting. You're not about to prime a single checker. You're not about to win a race, although a race is a possible game plan. You rolled 11 pips. You're down 7. You're up 4 after the race, after the roll, and he's on roll. That's not a great racing game, but you have a potential to race. The problem is you are leaving him a 7 shot here, and many checkers to make really good points here where he can prime you. It's still possible for him to make a decent prime here. He doesn't have the 2-point or a low point made. He's got his builders in wonderful places. So you can choose a racing game plan that's mediocre at best, or a hitting game plan where you clearly have a superior advantage. Why? Because you have 3 board points after you make this, and he has 1. That's really the only advantage in this game that you have. After you've made a low anchor, obviously you had an opening roll of a 6-4. After you've made this point, you really need to be thinking about a hitting game plan, because you're not going to ever have a good priming game. Very unlikely once you've made the 2-point. Well, you can also be thinking about a racing game after you've made your ace point or your 2-point early in the game. But this screams at playing a hitting game plan. The other concept is MCV, most common variation. Try and think about what's going to happen, most likely happen on the next roll after each of your plays. If you just race, or if you make this point, almost surely blue is either going to pop out with a great number here, 3-6 or 4-6 or something big and run, or with just about every other number, he's making the bar point, his 5-point, 4-point, even if he just makes the 9-point. It's going to be very difficult to get the remaining checker out. If you leave 2 checkers back and bring 2 down from here, that's even worse. Trying to get these 2 checkers out after he builds an incredibly good priming game, you're really stuck. So if you look at what's likely to happen on the next roll, you're not in a very lovely position if you do anything but hit. Now when you hit, what happens on the next roll? Well, first of all, 25% of the time he doesn't even come in. That's not trivial. That's 9 out of 36 rolls. He doesn't come in, and you should know those numbers. By the way, how do I quickly know that number? Of course, experience. But when you have 3 points made, 3 times 3 is 9. It's that simple. 9 numbers don't come in. If you had 4 points made, 4 times 4 is 16. 16 numbers wouldn't come in. If you have 5 points made, 5 times 5 is 25. 25 numbers don't come in. You would only be able to come in with the 11 numbers for the point you don't have made. So these are some of the shortcuts that it's very helpful to quickly know in your head. But Of course, he's probably going to come in 75% of the time he comes in, and some of those times he comes in and hits one of these two checkers. Well, that's unfortunate. However, getting a third checker back isn't terrible because he has no board. You should come in easily, and it might even be an advantage in this position. If you could come in with a 5-4, 4-3, by the way, 5-4 hits if he comes in and hits you here. And also a 3, let's see, a 3-6 hits. So you have some hitting numbers. You have numbers like a 4-3 that makes this point, even a 3-2 making this point. Being able to make a point in the inner board puts you in pretty strong position. And if you roll the 5-4, would you hit or would you anchor? After all this, you'd probably anchor. I'm not even sure you would hit because you're going to be, well, you would hit. You're in a hitting game. So let's see. Let's make sure we're doing this right. You come in, and let's say he comes in and hits you back. And now you roll a 5-4. Do you make this point and anchor, or do you play a hitting game? Well, again, what's my game plan? Look at this. I've got all these inner board points. He's got another blot sitting here. I'm not going to make the anchor. I want to play a hitting game. The game plan tells me come in and hit this checker. Let's see what our friend says. And it's right by only 38%. So again, the game plan dictates. There's many times where you would make this point instead of hit, but not when your game plan is hitting. So follow through to your, think about the game plan. By the way, there's only 3 game plans: racing, priming, and hitting. Now, hitting could be broken down into several types of game plans. There is just a general attacking and hitting game. There's blitzing. There's a back game and a holding game. Those are all different forms of hitting games, but they all amount to the same thing. You're hoping to get a shot and hit it in order to win, or in order to stop your opponent from priming you or going ahead in the race. You need to play a hitting game. This is a classic example. I hope you were one of the ones that raised your hand to do the hitting to begin with, and if you are, shoot me an email and I'll let you give the next lesson, and we'll talk about how to do that. I'm looking for guest lecturers to give lessons to help me. I'm sure people get tired of my voice, and I'm looking for other voices. So thanks for cooperating. Shoot me an email if you want to give a good lesson here. Thanks.